It started with a smell. Not perfume or cologne, not sweat or some strange scent on her clothes. It was bleach. Bleach, of all things. I came home that Thursday night, later than usual because the guys from work had dragged me out for drinks after we wrapped up a month-long HVAC retrofit job downtown. I was exhausted, but mostly just looking forward to kicking off my boots and passing out on the couch. The house was quiet, lights dimmed like she always left them when she expected me home late, but the moment I stepped into the kitchen, I got hit with that sharp, unmistakable smell of fresh bleach. Not like she'd cleaned earlier. No, it was recent. Too recent. The kind that still lingers in your nostrils and stings if you breathe in too deep. Our kitchen doesn't get cleaned with bleach. She hates the smell. Always says it gives her a headache and makes her nauseous. Yet here I was, standing there like an idiot, staring at the sink where water droplets were still drying on the edge. The sponge was soaked, white as a ghost. The garbage bin had fresh liner, and the trash bags were gone. Not tied up and sitting by the door, gone. Like someone hauled them out immediately, didn't want them sitting for even a second. I remember just standing there for a full minute, not moving, just listening. The sound of the fridge humming. The faint ticking from the old wall clock she bought from that overpriced antique shop. The living room was spotless. Her shoes were lined up perfectly by the door. But something about the silence felt wrong. She was home, her car was in the driveway, but it was too quiet. Lys. I called out, not too loud, just enough to let her know I was in. Nothing. I walked down the hall, past our small office and guest bathroom, toward the bedroom. The door was half closed, lights off. I pushed it open and saw her under the covers, apparently asleep. Her back was to me, hair tied up messily like she did when she didn't expect company. I didn't say anything else. I didn't undress, didn't shower. I just sat on the edge of the bed for a bit, thinking about the bleach, thinking about the garbage, thinking about how she didn't even wake up when I opened the door. I lay down beside her and stared at the ceiling until I eventually fell asleep. The next morning, things got even weirder. She was already up by the time I woke, showered, dressed, and halfway through making breakfast like it was just another day. The kitchen was pristine, like a staged home for a showing. The sponge was gone. The trash bin had a new liner again. Even the floor looked like it had been scrubbed. She was wearing makeup. Not the light stuff she wears around the house, full face. Hair blow-dried and styled. She looked good, way too good for someone who just planned to run errands, which was the excuse she gave when I asked where she was going. Where to? I asked, still groggy, pouring myself coffee that tasted like someone else had made it. It wasn't bad. It just didn't taste like hers. Oh, I've got a bunch of little things. Dry cleaner, post office, maybe Target, she said, not looking at me, her eyes focused on folding a dish towel, like that was the most important task of the day. You going out with someone? She finally looked up, surprised. No. Why would you ask that? You're just dressed up. That's all. She smiled in that tight way women do when they're annoyed but don't want to start a fight. I just felt like looking decent. Is that a crime? I didn't say anything. Just nodded and took my coffee out to the backyard. I sat on the shitty plastic chair we always talked about replacing. My brain was buzzing. Not because of anything concrete, but because I felt something off. I'd ignored it for weeks, her sudden interest in keeping the house spotless when I wasn't around, how she'd started using her own laundry cycle separate from mine, how she'd become protective of her tablet. That's where everything started. Not a phone. Not texts. Her tablet. I remembered the way she'd always carry it from room to room, even when she wasn't using it. How it went from sitting on the kitchen counter all day to being locked away in the drawer of her nightstand. It wasn't even password protected before. Now it had a lock screen and required a thumbprint or her face. I'm not dumb. I work with systems, with tools and control panels. I know the way people behave when they've got something to hide. The trick is always in what they suddenly stop doing. She used to leave her tablet open with Pinterest boards and recipe videos playing on loop. Now it was always off, face down, guarded like some top secret. So I waited. I didn't rush. I didn't confront. I waited until the next time she left for errands. She didn't take the tablet that Saturday. Left in a hurry. Something about running late to meet someone about curtain rods, some dumb home project she suddenly cared about after ignoring the living room curtains for 3 years. I gave it 10 minutes. Then I walked into the bedroom, opened her nightstand, and pulled it out. Still warm from being charged. I knew I couldn't unlock it. But what I could do was simple. Pull out the microSD card she didn't know I knew existed. She thought she was clever, but she forgot I'm the one who bought that tablet for her. I'm the one who set it up. I knew that thing inside and out. I took the card, shoved it into an old adapter I kept in my tool drawer, and plugged it into my work laptop. What I found wasn't screenshots or texts or saved conversations. It was worse. So much worse. Videos. She didn't store them on her main device. She'd moved them to external storage, probably planning to delete them later. Or maybe she kept them for fun. Maybe she watched them when I was at work, who knows. The first video was shot in our garage. My garage. The place I built shelves in with my own hands. I recognized the stack of boxes in the background, the oil stain near the back tire. And there she was, on her knees, laughing, brushing her hair back, completely naked. A man's voice, low, cocky, told her to look up at the camera. And she did, with a smile, like it was the most normal thing in the world. She said his name, not a name I recognized. The second video was in our laundry room. The third was in our bed. Same voice, same guy, always her initiating, her laughing, her whispering things that I'll never forget no matter how many drinks I downed trying to burn them out of my head. I didn't finish watching. I didn't have to. I saw enough to know what had been going on while I was out busting me, while I was putting in overtime to pay off our car early, while I was buying her a new set of earrings for her birthday, because she said she lost the last pair. She wasn't just cheating. She was using our house, my space, as their playground. She recorded it. She stored it. She kept it like some kind of sick trophy. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I sat in the backyard with her tablet in one hand and a hammer in the other, thinking about what would give me more satisfaction, deleting everything quietly, or smashing it all. I chose something else entirely. I didn't say a word that day. I couldn't. She came home carrying a bag from some boutique, talking about curtain samples like anything in the world still mattered. She kissed me on the cheek, called me babe, and asked if I wanted chicken or pasta for dinner. I told her chicken. She smiled and said she'd make it with lemon. I nodded and went back to pretending I wasn't sitting on top of the most disgusting secret I'd ever stumbled into. My hands were shaking. I wasn't scared, not of her, not of what she might say or do. I was shaking because I couldn't decide whether to tell her right then and there or make her live with herself just a little longer. She sat across from me at dinner that night, legs crossed, fork tapping her plate while she scrolled through her phone. She told me about some friend's baby shower she didn't want to go to. I didn't say much, just listened, watching her face, the way she lit up talking about things that didn't mean anymore. She asked me why I was so quiet. I told her I was tired. She said I looked pale. I said I was fine. The next morning, I took the day off. Told my boss I wasn't feeling well. He didn't push. I spent the day in the garage cleaning out a shelf, rearranging tools, wiping the same spot over and over until it didn't even need cleaning anymore. I kept playing the videos in my head, hearing her voice, that laugh, seeing her body the way only I was supposed to. Every time her name came out of that guy's mouth, something inside me twisted. I couldn't understand how she managed to act so normal afterward. How someone could cheat, record it, and then come home and act like nothing happened. It was the comfort, the ease, like she'd been doing it for a long time. Like she didn't care if I ever found out. That night, I waited until she got into the shower. I sat on the edge of the bed with the tablet next to me, already on, the videos queued up. When she came out wrapped in a towel, she stopped in the doorway. She saw the screen. She froze. Her mouth opened, then closed. She didn't say anything right away. I didn't either. I just turned the screen slightly, so she could see more clearly. Then I spoke. Tell me how long it's been going on. She didn't answer. She reached for the towel tighter, eyes still locked on the screen. How long, Alyssa? I said again, louder this time. I don't know what you think, she started, but I cut her off. Don't lie. Don't even try. I saw everything. The garage. The laundry room. Our bed. I saw it all. You recorded it. You kept it. So now, you can either tell me the truth, or I'm done talking. She looked like she might throw up. Or cry. Or both. But she didn't do either. She sat down on the other side of the bed, slowly, like she was thinking about running, but realized it wouldn't change anything. It wasn't supposed to happen more than once, she said finally, voice low, shaky. Didn't look like once. It started 6 months ago. I met him at that hardware store on 5th. I went in for brackets. He helped me pick some out. We talked. He asked for my number. I didn't think it would turn into anything. But you gave him your number. So what were you thinking? She rubbed her face like she could erase it all. I don't know. I was bored. I was restless. You were always tired. You never touched me like you used to. That's your excuse? I didn't touch you? So you brought some stranger into our house? She flinched, but didn't deny it. You could have talked to me. You could have said anything. But instead, you chose this. You let him inside our home. You recorded it. You saved it like a souvenir. I didn't think you'd find it. I didn't think it mattered. That line hit me harder than anything. She didn't think it mattered. Like her life, our house, our trust, was some background noise she could mute whenever she wanted. Was it just him? She hesitated, and that was all the answer I needed. No. There were others. 2, she whispered. Before him. Just one time each. Nothing like this. I stood up. I couldn't sit anymore. My legs felt like they wanted to run, but my body couldn't move. I walked out of the room, out to the kitchen, leaned on the counter like it could hold me up. She followed me after a minute. I didn't want to ruin us, she said from behind me. You already did. I was going to stop. I swear, I was going to end it this week. Yeah? You were going to stop after you had your fun and recorded it all, right? I made a mistake, Eric. No, you made 100 decisions. Don't try to shrink it down to one mistake. We didn't talk the rest of the night. She tried to come into the guest room where I slept. I locked the door. I didn't sleep. I didn't cry either. I just stared at the ceiling, going through every memory, trying to figure out where she changed, where I stopped mattering. The part that hurt most was knowing I still loved her, even as I hated her guts. But love wasn't going to save her. And in the morning, I started planning what I'd do next. The morning after she confessed, I didn't wake up with clarity or peace or any of that people talk about after they find out their marriage is a lie. I woke up pissed off, hungover from rage, and determined to make sure she didn't just walk away from this thinking it was going to be another secret buried under a fake smile and a few weeks of acting like nothing happened. She was still asleep in our bed, like the night before hadn't meant anything. I could hear her soft breathing through the cracked door as I stood there in the hallway with the tablet in my hand, debating whether I should smash it against the floor or upload the videos somewhere for everyone to see. I didn't do either. I had something better in mind. I made coffee, sat down at the kitchen table, and pulled out a notepad. I wrote down everything I remembered, dates, times, even the things she said during the videos. I listed out the 3 guys she admitted to, and I left space under each name for more. Because I didn't believe for a second that she'd only been with 3. She was too comfortable, too rehearsed, too careful. It wasn't a first-time mistake. It was a lifestyle. I started thinking about what would make her feel the way she made me feel, trapped, blindsided, embarrassed, disposable. She came out an hour later, hair down, wearing my old hoodie like that made any difference now. She looked at me like she was waiting for another fight. What are you doing? She asked, glancing at the notepad. I'm making a list, I said, without looking up. Of what? Of everything you've thrown away. She sat down slowly, silent for once. I could feel her watching me, probably wondering if I'd gone off the rails. I'm going to tell people, I said, finally meeting her eyes. Your family. Mine. Our friends. Your coworkers, if I can figure out who's who. You don't get to pretend anymore. Her voice cracked. Eric, please don't. Don't what? Don't tell people the truth? You weren't too concerned about anyone finding out when you bent over in our garage for that guy. You weren't worried about it when you filmed it. So don't start crying about consequences now. I made a mistake, she started again. You made a choice. And now I'm making mine. She stood up, pacing now, holding her head like she was the one who'd been betrayed. I watched her, calm on the outside, but every second she walked around that room like she still belonged, and it made me want to scream. You're not thinking clearly, she said. We can fix this. We can go to therapy or something. Please, just don't blow up our lives like this. You already blew it up. I'm just sorting through the ashes. She stopped walking. So what? You're going to humiliate me? No, Alyssa, I'm going to expose you. Humiliation is just a side effect. I'll lose my job, she said, and for the first time, she looked scared. You should have thought about that before turning our house into a set. We didn't say much after that. She walked out, slammed the door like that was going to intimidate me, like any of her emotions mattered now. I grabbed my phone and started contacting people. I didn't send the videos. I'm not trying to end up in court, but I told them the truth. I called her sister first, told her everything. She didn't believe me until I told her to ask Alyssa why the garage smelled like bleach last Thursday. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up with a bunch of texts from her cousin, her mom, even one from her best friend who'd apparently known something was up but didn't have proof. Now she did. I sent a message to our group of mutual friends, the ones we went camping with every summer. The ones who always said we were the strong couple. I told them about the affairs, the recordings, and how long it had been going on. I didn't hold back. I made sure they all knew I wasn't some bitter husband making things up. I told them they could ask her directly. I even offered to let them hear the audio from the tablet if they thought I was lying. Not one person asked. They all believed me. The reactions came fast. Some people were shocked. Some said they had a feeling something wasn't right. A few just sent sad emojis like that meant something. I didn't care. I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it because she needed to understand that this wasn't going to be something she could cry through and get over. She needed to see what real consequences looked like. By the time she came back that evening, she'd heard from almost everyone. Her face was flushed, her eyes swollen. I opened the door before she could knock. "You told them," she said, barely above a whisper. "Every last one," I replied. "Why would you do that to me?" "No, Alyssa. You did this to yourself. I'm just not protecting you from it anymore." She tried to come in. I blocked the doorway. "Go sleep at your mom's. Or your boyfriend's. I don't care. But you're not staying here. It's still my house too. Not for long. I've already called a lawyer." Her face dropped. "You're divorcing me? What did you think was going to happen? That I'd forgive you? That I'd sleep next to you after this?" She didn't answer. Just stood there, like she was trying to decide if begging would work. "It wouldn't. I'll be back for my things," she muttered. "Bring someone to help. I don't want to see your face again." She walked away, shoulders hunched, that fake strength finally broken. And as the door shut behind her, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Control. She moved out the following week. 2 plastic tubs, a suitcase, some clothes on hangers, and a pile of makeup bags like she was going to war with her own face. Her cousin showed up to help carry stuff, avoiding eye contact like I was contagious. I stayed silent, arms crossed, watching from the doorway as she walked in and out like it was any other Sunday. She didn't say a single word until she was ready to leave. I thought she might try to pull one last dramatic goodbye, maybe some half-assed apology, but all she did was stop at the door, glance back like she was about to ask for the remote she left behind, and then walked out. That was the last time she stood in the house like she belonged there. By the time the door shut, I already had my next steps lined up. I wasn't just going to let her walk away with a story about how things just didn't work out. No. She'd already lied enough. She got to cheat in private. Now she'd get exposed in public. I uploaded a private, invite-only video to an anonymous file-sharing platform. No names, no faces, but enough audio and context for anyone close to us to put the pieces together. I didn't publish it. I wasn't trying to humiliate myself, but I made sure her little friends knew it existed. Every guy who ever texted her after 10 p.m. got a message from me. Short and simple. "I know what happened. Stay away from me." Most didn't reply. One did. And that's when things got fun. He was the guy from the videos. The one she let into our garage like it was his playground. His name was Nate. Real estate agent. Drove a stupid electric SUV with his name plastered on the side like he was some kind of local celebrity. I found his work number and left a voicemail. "Hey Nate. This is Eric. You know, Alyssa's husband. The guy whose house you used to sneak into. I've got your videos. All of them. You might want to reconsider how loud you laugh on camera next time you sleep with someone else's wife." He called back in 15 minutes. The guy sounded like someone had just choked him out mid-sentence. "I don't want any trouble, man," he said, voice low and shaky. "You already have trouble. What do you think your boss would say if he got an email with a clip of your little late-night visits? You wouldn't. I would. And I will. But I'm offering you a choice. You come clean to your company, to your wife if you have one, and you never speak to Alyssa again. Or I send every recording to your agency's corporate inbox and let them figure it out." He didn't respond right away, just breathed heavily like he was weighing whether I was bluffing. "I'll block her," he finally said. "I swear. I'll end it. I didn't even know she was married at first. Save the excuses. Just disappear." And to my surprise, he did. He blocked her. Deleted his social media. A few days later, I got a message from a burner account. One sentence. "It's done." It should have felt like a win, but it didn't. Not really. It was just a move in the game. I still had to wake up in that house every day, still had to walk past the garage, the laundry room, the hallway mirror where she once kissed me before work. The place felt hollow, like everything in it belonged to someone else. So I decided it was time to get rid of it. I put the house on the market. I didn't even tell her. I didn't have to. It was in my name. I priced it to sell fast and got an offer in 4 days. The day the buyer signed, I packed up the rest of her forgotten crap and dropped it off at her mom's place. No note. Just a box labeled, "Your mess." I didn't wait around to see her reaction. I didn't need it. Then came the final part of my plan. Her job. She worked at a local wellness center, a fake-ass spa that marketed overpriced massages and energy healing sessions to bored housewives. I found the owner's contact email. Attached one of the shorter clips. Just enough to show it was their employee doing things most employers wouldn't appreciate. The reply came the next day. Formal, distant, but clear. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. The matter is being reviewed internally. We will handle this with discretion." Alyssa lost her job 2 days later. She texted me that night. The first message since she left. "You got me fired. Are you happy now?" I didn't reply. She sent another. "This was between us. You had no right to drag my job into it." I answered that one. "You dragged your job into it when you let a guy sleep with you in your work uniform in my house. Actions have consequences. Welcome to yours." She didn't text again. That night, I slept without waking up once. No noise, no nightmares, no regrets. I was finally in control of the story she tried to bury me in. She got exposed. Her plaything got scared. Her fake life got ripped apart. And for the first time in weeks, I started to feel like myself again. She asked to meet in person 3 weeks after she got fired. I hadn't seen her since the day she walked out with her cousin holding a box of curling irons and half of our towels. The message was short, just said she wanted to talk face to face, no yelling, no games, just one final conversation. I almost ignored it. I almost blocked her again like I did the first time after she tried to call me crying at 2 in the morning. But something in me needed it too. I wanted to see how she looked without the act, without the comfort of hiding behind her little messages. I wanted to see if she would lie to my face again or finally say something real. I told her to meet me at the diner 2 blocks from my new apartment. Neutral ground. Bright, public, quiet. No distractions. She was already there when I walked in, sitting in the corner booth, hands wrapped around a cup of untouched coffee, hair tied back like she used to do when she wanted to seem casual but still presentable. Her eyes were puffy, her nails chewed up, face bare. No makeup, no polish. She looked exactly like someone who'd spent weeks watching her world fall apart from a mess she made with her own hands. I sat down across from her without saying a word. The silence dragged for a few seconds before she broke it. "Thank you for coming." I nodded but didn't return the gesture with words. She shifted in her seat, clearly uncomfortable under the weight of her own decisions. "I wanted to say I'm sorry, not just for cheating, but for how far it all went. I know I destroyed everything. I know I can't take it back." "You didn't just destroy everything, Alyssa," I said, keeping my voice calm. "You built a whole separate life inside of the one we had. You didn't just lie to me. You filmed it. You watched it. You kept it. That wasn't a mistake. That was effort." "I know," she said, tears already building up in her eyes. I don't have a defense. I don't even know what I was trying to get from it. I think part of me wanted to feel. I don't know, wanted again. You were wanted. You were married. You had a husband who worked his ass off to make life easier for you. I didn't feel it, she said quickly, too quickly, like she was finally just vomiting out the truth. I felt invisible. You'd come home and barely touch me. You were tired. You were quiet. You were going through the motions. And instead of telling me that, you decided to sleep strangers on camera. Got it. She looked down, wiping her eyes like it would help. I wasn't trying to hurt you. Then why didn't you stop? After the first guy, after the second, even after the videos. What kept you going? She shrugged, a pathetic little gesture that made my stomach turn. Because I didn't think I'd get caught. And by the time I realized how deep I was in, I didn't know how to stop. No, you knew how to stop. You just didn't care enough to do it. You didn't care about me. You didn't care about the house. You didn't care about anything except yourself. I care now, she said, voice cracking. I've lost everything. My job. My friends. My reputation. I deserved it, but it still hurts. I leaned forward, resting my arms on the table. Do you know what it feels like to lay in the bed you shared with someone for years and realize it was just a stage for someone else's private show? Do you know what it's like to watch your wife go away with some random guy like it's nothing? Do you know what kind of damage that does to someone? I think about it every day, she whispered. Good. Because I live with that every hour. Every time I look in the mirror, every time I try to go to sleep. That doesn't just go away. You put it there. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I'm not asking for it. I just wanted to look you in the eye and say that I own it. Everything. What I did. What I ruined. I let the silence sit for a while before answering. I'm not going to forgive you. Not today. Maybe not ever. But I accept that you ruined it. That's enough for me to move on. She nodded slowly. Are you going to make the divorce official? It's already in motion. You'll get the papers soon. Are you going to stay here in town? I haven't decided. But even if I do, you won't see me. I've got nothing left to say to you after this. She looked away, staring out the window, jaw trembling like she was trying to hold in another breakdown. I really did love you, you know, she said, barely audible. No, you loved the version of me that didn't ask you to be accountable. That version is dead. She didn't argue, didn't try to reach across the table. Just sat there, looking small, looking hollow. I stood up, tossed a few bucks on the table even though I hadn't touched the coffee. She didn't get up. She just watched me like she wanted to memorize what I looked like walking away. I didn't look back. The divorce went through without any real drama, which surprised me more than anything. She didn't fight it, didn't try to contest the split, didn't even ask for anything beyond what she was legally entitled to. Maybe she realized there wasn't a single room left for negotiation after what she did, or maybe she was just too embarrassed to sit across from a lawyer and pretend she had a leg to stand on. Either way, it ended fast. My name got taken off the mortgage, she got the rest of her, and the final papers were signed just under a month after our last conversation. I thought I'd feel something big when it was over. Relief, sadness, maybe even some twisted sense of closure. But honestly, all I felt was blank. Like the paperwork had just confirmed what I already knew from the moment I hit play on that first video. The marriage had died long before the divorce did. That realization did something to me. It pulled me out of the cycle I'd been trapped in since the whole thing blew up. The nights where I replayed her words in my head, trying to find a clue I missed. The mornings where I opened my eyes and forgot for half a second that my life had been gutted. That all started to fade. Not quickly, not cleanly, but enough for me to stop waking up with that weight in my chest. Enough for me to finally focus on what came next. I started working more. Not because I needed the money, but because I needed something to pull me out of my own head. I volunteered for every annoying job at work that nobody wanted, stayed late without complaint, even picked up weekend shifts when I could. My coworkers asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was just focused on saving up for something. They didn't push. I didn't offer details. That was fine with me. Eventually, the calls from mutual friends stopped. The ones who were too afraid to take a side. The ones who didn't want to get involved. I deleted their numbers. They weren't my friends anymore. The people who mattered had already made it clear they were with me. The rest could stay silent. I didn't need people who only showed up when life was easy. As for her, she moved into a smaller place across town. I never visited, never asked about it. Occasionally, I'd hear her name from someone who didn't know the full story. They'd say they bumped into her or heard she was looking for work again. I'd nod, pretend to care for 10 seconds, and change the subject. I didn't want to know where she ended up. I didn't care what her new job was or who she was sleeping with. I wasn't interested in her recovery arc. She had made her choices. She could live with them. There was one thing I did keep, though. The videos. Not to torture myself. I didn't watch them again after the first time. I just kept them locked up on a drive in a fireproof box, password protected, stored where only I could access them. Not out of spite. Not for revenge. Just as proof. A reminder that I hadn't imagined it. That it really happened. Because for a while, it almost felt like a bad story I told myself to explain why everything went to hell. But it wasn't a story. It was real. It happened. And it changed me. I'm not the same person I was before all this. I'm more suspicious now. More careful with who I let in. I don't trust words the way I used to. Promises mean less than they did. Smiles, even less than that. But I also don't walk around bitter or angry. That's the part that surprises people. They expect me to be hostile, to hate women, to hate relationships. I don't. I just don't idealize them anymore. People ask if I'll ever get married again. I don't say yes. I don't say no. I say I don't think about it. And I mean that. I'm not building my life around another person's presence. I'm not waiting for anyone to complete anything. If someone shows up who actually gets what it means to be honest, to be loyal, to have your back when nobody's looking, that's fine. If not, I'm still good. The guy I used to be, the one who ignored the signs, who made excuses, who kept quiet to keep the peace, that guy's gone. He died somewhere between the day I found that tablet and the night I told her to get the hell out of my house. What's left is someone who doesn't beg for explanations, who doesn't care about apologies, who doesn't need to hear I'm sorry from someone who should have just been better.